Funding for this program made possible by Kentucky American Water.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Know More, the educational television series that takes a look at what life would be like without the nonprofit services in our communities. We are on the southern banks of the Kentucky River at Boonesboro State Park, where we are enjoying the festivities of River Blast. In this episode of Know More, we will learn a little bit more about some of the nonprofits that are helping to put on the celebration of all things Kentucky River, along with some other unique groups whose mission finds them wading into Commonwealth waters. We're about to take a look at Bluegrass Greensource, a group with a goal to educate people about how we treat water before it ends up in big bodies of water like the Kentucky River. I'm sure we're going to learn more about that as we look at our next segment celebrating Bluegrass Greensource.
I think that nationally and definitely in Kentucky, the biggest environmental problem that we face is water quality. And if you think about it, maybe when you were a kid or when your parents were kids, they were out playing in the stream all of the time. And now you go, they can do, and it says, don't swim here, you know. So there's a lot of effect that we have seen as people who live in Kentucky with water quality changes. And and education is the biggest thing I think that we can do to prevent that.
So Bluegrass Greensource is involved in a lot of water education programs, especially around the schools. We have a team of educators that go out into the schools and they teach kids about invertebrates that live in the streams. They actually have samples that they bring in and show the kids. They teach them about water quality, what that means and why it's important.
When we go out to streams and creeks here in Lexington, you know how there's rocks.
So we serve 19 counties in central Kentucky. So a big giant circle around the Fayette County is what we serve. And we're able to do all sorts of things. We focus a lot on water, waste, and energy. There's a lot of work that goes into treating the water that comes out of your faucet. And so if we can prevent that, if we can actually use the water that falls from the sky, that's great for vegetables and flower gardens, and use that to water the plants instead of the water from the faucet, that helps out a lot. There's a lot of energy that it takes to pump the water from the treatment facility, which is out by the Kentucky River, all the way in Lexington, all the way into town or in various other places. So there's a lot of energy that can be saved by water conservation, and a lot of times people don't equate those two. So Bluegrass Greensource, we started in 2001, and shortly after we began, we already understood the importance of rain barrels, but one of the things we kept hearing was that rain barrels were just ugly, and they were, you know, old plastic barrels attached to or not even attached to the gutter, maybe just standing out under the rain. And we decided that there was a way that we could help that and also bring awareness to what rain barrels can do. And we had local artists come in, and we had a ton of local artists interested in the idea, and they came in and they painted barrels for us, and then we displayed them throughout central Kentucky so that people would understand, and it was a big source for water quality information.
Well, today we have our annual Roll Out the Rain Barrel reception. It's part of Gallery Hop, and it's a really big event for Bluegrass Greensource. It gives us the opportunity to both showcase wonderful artists and the commitment and the work that they do for the community, but also, of course, to talk about our rain barrels and the work that we do within the central Kentucky area. We put out a call to the artists every year and invite them to participate, to paint a rain barrel. And further behind me, there's actually a rain barrel being painted right now.
Kids start the barrel with me, add thousands and thousands and thousands of dots to it. And eventually next year, the one that we're doing tonight will be on sale. I pretty much do rain barrels year round. I have people from around the state that ask me how to get the paint on it. A lot of the communities where I teach, they want rain barrels displayed, and my students love to paint them. So it's pretty much something that I do all the time. I think it pulls the kids into the art realm, but it also pulls them into just understanding what's going on in the environment. You can learn about things in the news, but if you have a hands-on practice with it, I think it brings it home for the kids.
Where we got started is we were trying to help people understand how to retain water, but the problem is that whenever we have stormwater overflow, it causes Beargrass Creek to rise and causes the stormwater being dumped into a common sewer, then causes it to tend to overflow or have a rough time dealing with it during heavy rainfall. We did this one mainly just to show how easy you could make one, because this one all we did is we cut the sod in terms of getting it out of the way. We then did a perk test. Then from that standpoint, it was already pretty flat, you know, so there wasn't much else to do. It has a slight berm. Everybody in the neighborhood came out here the first night it rained in their pajamas and everything else to see if it was going to be a puddle or a lake. If you get the perk rate right, it goes away by morning, you know, in terms of this stuff. And so what happens then as a result of that, that means that it's pretty maintenance free. And that's good for me because I am not a gardener. These are all Kentucky natives. They're what called full sun Kentucky natives. They tend to, you know, enjoy just being out in the sun. They're tolerant. We just took our downspout, put it on the end of a great big pipe like this, cut great big holes in the bottom of the pipe, and ran the pipe out into the middle of the bermed, cleaned out space. So the most straightforward way in the world to do that is like that, and many times you will have sufficient rainfall that you will not have a problem. This half of the roof of my roof fills this rain barrel, overflow of that rain barrel fills that rain barrel, overflow goes to this end of the rain garden. So down at the bottom of the rain barrel, there's a faucet. Attached to these, in this particular instance, the way mine works, is a soaker hose. And the soaker hose is buried in the garden. So then the rain barrel slowly empties between rainfall into the outer perimeter of the garden. So that tends to make the garden fairly consistent over time. What we've done is increase ease the loading that's on our existing combined sewer facility.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a rain barrel. And first what we're going to do is we're going to work on the top. And the first part of the top is we have two things. We have a downspout adapter, and this is actually what your downspout will go into. So you want to start somewhere about a third of the way in the middle, and you want to draw a circle so that you can trace it. This other thing that goes on the top, we call it a vent. Its sole purpose is to provide a hole in the top of your barrel for easy access, just to create a hole for maintenance. You want to do the same thing with the vent over here, and we'll have the vent, again, not too close to the edge because when you're using your jigsaw, it'll be hard to get your jigsaw around this big edge here. This is our drill that we're going to use to start out. It has a 7/8 inch drill bit in it. We don't need the 7/8 inch drill for the top, but instead of switching out things, it makes it easier just to keep it at that. What we're doing now is we're going to drill a starter hole for the jigsaw. We're going to use a jigsaw to cut out the holes, but we need to start it with something. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the drill on the top, and you want to make sure that you line up the outside of the bit with the line that you drew, and it can be anywhere. Just don't start it in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and make this cut. And then the same thing over here. What we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom. The hole at the top is going to be used for your overflow. And this is where the water is going to go if you get too much water in a rain event and it leaks out. Almost every rain event that's of any significance will fill up your barrel. You'll be very surprised. So you want to make sure that you put your overflow high enough so that the water can come out and you can still keep enough in there. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing over here, about an inch from the bottom. The lower the spigot, the more water you'll get out of the barrel. All right. You can set your barrel up. So now all we're doing is going to cut the hole out. So all it is here is following the line. You stick the jigsaw in there, and we're literally going to move the barrel around and follow the black line. Make sure if you're using a jigsaw and you've not used one before that you don't hold it up like this where there's space between the barrel and the jigsaw. You're going to make sure to hold it flat on the barrel. That's the safest way. And then we just cut along the black line. We'll do this other one and we'll make sure that it fits. So you want to make sure that the vent fits, and that's fine. This is loose, but again, the point of this is just to cover up the hole so that you can pop it in and out. So that's no problem. This one usually fits in a little bit tighter, and it's in there and it won't come out. Now what we're going to do is we have these two holes at the top, and we're going to thread them so that we can thread in the spigot and the overflow. So in order to thread the barrel, so what you're going to do is you're going to get this pipe tap. We're doing righty-tighty, and we're just easing it in as best we can, keeping it as steady as possible. Okay, again, leaving just the top two ridges and then twirling it out. This is a 3/4 inch hose bib, and it's, I think, used for water heaters and things like that. But anyway, it has a thread on the end and then a place for you to put your hose when you have it attached. It should just screw right in. This one has one part for the hose and one part to be screwed in the barrel. The hose part is a little bit wider, and the part that goes in the barrel is a little bit narrower. You can see this one is a little bit narrower and this is wider. The wider one goes to the hose. If you have a hard time screwing it in, just flip it and see if that works out better. You can wear gloves, or you can use vice grips or something to screw it in, but make sure you touch the edges of it instead of this part, because this part can actually sometimes be pretty sharp and give you little paper cuts. And that's it. Now we'll get the vent and put that back on, and that's the barrel.
So if there were no more Bluegrass Greensource in this area serving Fayette County and the 18 different counties surrounding Fayette County, I mean, you have so many schools that would be lacking this hands-on environmental education. You would have all of these businesses here that we've signed up to become, recycling partners, and who are doing energy efficiency measures and water conservation measures. And they would have never been doing that if we hadn't been reaching out to them and getting them to do these things. So without us, I think that we would definitely be a much less sustainable community. 1 in 10 employees in Kentucky work for a nonprofit. So just the economic contributions that the nonprofit community brings to Kentucky and as a whole, and then certainly Bluegrass Greensource and other wonderful nonprofits in the area. These are people who wanted to commit to serving our community, serving those who are in need, and then certainly Bluegrass Greensource serving this beautiful environment. You fly into Lexington, you drive into Lexington, you see the farms, you drive throughout the Bluegrass region. Just a gorgeous environment that we have, and everyone talks about it. Certainly we sell it, it's all over the postcards. We want to keep it preserved and keep it wonderful for all generations to be able to enjoy it.
I think that the biggest impact is in the connection between people and their environment. That's the biggest impact we would lose if we weren't here. I think our biggest strength is helping people understand that what they do affects our local environment. And I think that if we weren't here, people wouldn't have that connection and wouldn't understand that there are positive things that they can do that can help our local environment.
We're made of 80% water. We as a human race cannot exist without water. So to take something that is so precious to our existence and not treat it well just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And it should be something that it's obvious, but it's not, because it's something that's so easy to do. You pull the tap, Take a shower in the morning, it's there, you wash your dishes, and it's done. It's not something to think about.
In reality, what we really need is their attention, their ear, because what we need is for them to listen, for the community to listen, to hear, and pick one or two things a year that they can do to change that don't affect them very much, but can have a really big effect on our water quality.
They reach out to the community with how they educate. They go and they teach, and they work with the other instructors in the classroom, and it just keeps spreading out.
There are a lot of people who think about water daily. Kentucky American Water is very supportive of the work that we do, and their job is to keep that water clean, but we can do and should be doing our part. So if you care about wildlife, if you care about conservation, if you care about fish, and if you want your future children, your grandchildren to grow up in an environment that's as beautiful as what we have in the Central Kentucky area, just treat it good. Just treat it well.
We're at Boonesboro State Park for River Blast. And did you know that about a mile down the Kentucky River from here, above lock number 9, there lies a shipwreck? That's right. A historic stern-wheel tugboat known as the Brooklyn is just one of the mysteries and adventures one can find along the Kentucky River. Including the Brooklyn, it's truly amazing what gets washed down our waterways. In our next segment, we head out to Rabbit Hash, Kentucky to learn a little about a nonprofit that brings together thousands of volunteers annually to the banks of the Ohio River to collect trash and debris. Let's take a look at River Sweep.
It's nice to keep our community clean.
Every little bit you pick out of the river, it all helps, you know.
But if you had 1 million people out here, you couldn't pick it all up.
So what's going on here is we're gathering people who have volunteered for the River Sweep today. This is the 25th year for River Sweep, and we'll take them out on boats and take them out to the Ohio River and then put them on walkable land so that they can collect garbage off the properties along the Indiana as well as the Kentucky side of the river.
Right now you're in Rabbit Hash, and we have 6 sites in Boone County. ORSANCO is the organization that puts the river sweep on, and they're like the river watchers. They watch the levels, they watch bacteria in the water, the fish, the wildlife, everything. And they've seen the need where people are littering, throwing things back in the backyards, and it's coming down into the creeks and into the river, and they see where it's all littered and stuff, so they decided to do a once-a-year cleanup and try to pick everything up.
Lots of sticks out here today. So that's Kentucky, and that's Indiana. I'm just a volunteer for the River Sweep, but I do captain the boat. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I don't remember. Whenever River Sweep started, I started with it. We're probably going to do pretty much the same thing we did last time. We'll go up here where there's a fairly nice sandy beach and get off and pick up some litter. The reason we do it from boat here is back in the camp there's no access to the water, and along the roads out here there's no real access, so we use the boats coming out of here.
I think you said it was a channel marker. Coast Guard channel marker.
We really come up with some unique things like sandboxes from a yard or windows, pieces of boats, just different things, all kinds of stuff. Here we go.
We found refrigerators, stoves, lots of tires.
You name it, it's in there. Garbage. Garbage.
As far as the garbage along the river, some years is less than others. I think it's got to do with how much high water we have during the winter and stuff still flooding out. What you see more of anything is plastic. Plastics last a long time in the environment, so if they get discarded out there, they stay forever.
It's good family time and good to show your family and educate them in the importance of cleaning the environment and keeping it picked up. And as far as the kids being involved, it's good for them to see firsthand the result of that litter that they throw out, where it ends up and stuff, and how it impacts our environment and stuff.
A lot of people don't realize that when they litter, just even up in the county, up in the city, when they throw stuff out, it goes into the storm drains. When it rains, it goes into local creeks and then comes down here to the river. Plastics, the bottles, the cigarette butts, how many are littered each year? 4.5 trillion. They're all floating through our rivers, and those cigarette butts are actually made out of plastic, not cotton. And when they come down here through the river and then it hits Mississippi and the Gulf of Mexico and hits out in the ocean, we have 5 dead zones and no animal and plants can live at all. So this is a very big event, trying to stop it here locally, where we can't go out in the ocean and pick up litter, but we can do something right here and make a change.
My first year volunteering, I didn't realize, the impact, the result of, as far as the trash and litter and stuff, when you throw it out on the side of the road, where it actually ends up and stuff.
When they're out here actually having to pick up the litter and they feel that they make a difference and they come back and they see their area clean, it's instant gratification with them, and they don't want to mess it up again.
So if this event was to stop and not continue any further, I think we would see some increase in what we see on the banks of the Ohio River. We definitely feel we've made a difference in this stretch of the river. It's only a couple miles long, but it's very clean, we feel, especially after we get done doing the policing. I mean, if that didn't happen, it would just not be a pleasant river to look at or ride your boat on.
In this area, if we stopped river sweep, it would be so polluted nobody could go out there and boat, definitely could not swim in the water. The animal life and aqua life in the water, they would probably die off because it would just be so polluted around here. So this is a big deal, and I would hope it would never go away.
If there were no more river sweep, of course, we'd have a lot more trash piling up on the riverbanks, because we do pick up a lot of trash from the riverbanks. So if it stopped, there would be an accumulation of a lot of litter and trash that wouldn't be being collected and pulled off the banks. So it would really impact as far as people being able to fish and boat and just enjoying the river and the communities alongside the river.
I don't know if it should be, if it's clean. If it wasn't here, I think people would not be able to enjoy this and get to see the river and feel like they're doing their part to help clean it up. If the event didn't take place, it'd be one less thing that people can do to help their community and the area out.
But we do make a difference, definitely, where it's not being added. Everything we take out is a great thing, and we usually remove 5 30-yard dumpsters and probably about 150 tires each year, and I don't know how much metal, probably about 2 tons worth of metal. So yeah, that helps.
When I started boating down here in '84 with a big boat, big cruiser, and in my 30 years, yes, I've seen the waters amazingly different. Back then, if you seen one heron a year, it was an amazing thing. Everybody'd say, oh, there's a heron on the river, and everybody'd go out in their boat to look at it. And now they're a nuisance almost. That just tells you how good the environment is. So yes, the water is extremely cleaner.
They want a good future, and a clean rivers and everything, they got to learn. Don't litter. Simple as that. Keep it clean. You might want to swim in it or something, That's all it takes. Just bend over and pick it up and throw it in the garbage can. It's simple as that.
It would be nice in 5 years from now if we picked up less and less trash, and in 25 years from now, if there was no trash for us to pick up at all. That would be a great goal, wouldn't it?
We'd like to thank Kentucky American Water for helping make this show possible, and thank you for watching today. Be sure and check your local listings so you can tune in for part 2 of our series on nonprofits and water. We'll visit Paducah's River Discovery Center, where we'll learn about commerce, travel, tourism, and the history of the 4 rivers of Western Kentucky. Our second story will look at the Kentucky River Keeper, where we'll discover new river trails and recreational uses for our water systems and why preserving our rivers promotes healthy living and some great entertainment. Any way you can help any of these organizations is a big help. I'm Brian Simmons, signing off and asking you to know more.